You're not stuck here because you can't change, but because you haven't hit your raw and unfiltered I'm done moment yet. I've realized this after years of coaching women and also from painfully trying and failing miserably to create positive changes in my own life in the past. So in this video, I want to show you why finding your I'm done moment is so imperative and how this one mindset can change your life immediately. Let's get into it. The best periods of my life always came after reaching a breaking point, when I was just completely and utterly fed up with the lack of progress I was making. And this is exactly what I've seen in other women as well when coaching them. There is this real magic in hitting your raw I'm done moment. It's the point where your dissatisfaction for your current situation becomes your biggest motivator. It becomes so big that you can't ignore it anymore. It's not about finding some quick fix or a momentary distraction to ease the pain. It's about accepting a radical shift in how you live and finally deciding that you deserve so much better for yourself. I would be lying to you if I said that reaching this point isn't uncomfortable, but that discomfort is exactly what fuels your transformation. Most people stay in this kind of gray area of discomfort in life where things aren't too bad, but they aren't great either. It's having the job you don't like waking up for, but it pays the bills. Being in the relationship that isn't what you truly want, but they are decent enough company. Living in a body that's unhealthy, but it only makes you feel self-conscious some of the time. Being in this fed up but not completely fed up place is the most dangerous place to be. It's where the feeling of discomfort is there, but it's not strong enough to force your hand at doing something about it. Think about it like sitting in a room that's just a little too cold or a little too hot. Of course, you could get up and adjust the temperature, open a window or get a blanket. It's uncomfortable, but it's not unbearable. So you just sit there enduring it. You choose not to do anything because the discomfort isn't enough for you to get up and do something about it. But then if the room was freezing cold where your whole body is shivering and your jaw is chattering while you're trying to sleep, or it's so unbearably hot that you are dripping with sweat while you're just trying to watch Netflix, you would without a shadow of a doubt get up and do something immediately. You would do something to ease the discomfort you're feeling. This is why hitting your I'm done moment, rock bottom, breaking point, whichever way you want to label it, is so important. It forces you up and doing something to remove your discomfort. The discomfort becomes so unbearable that doing nothing just isn't an option anymore. While when we just have a this sucks but it's not too bad, I guess, perception of our situation, it's not enough to force our mind to act. I remember around this time, about 6 years ago now, I was 22, 23, and I was stuck in my cold room, but not cold enough to get up and do something about it kind of life, which is crazy to think it was so long ago thinking back. Time literally flies by, it's scary. I was in a long-term relationship that was not right for me at all, but they were a good enough companion for me to do life with. I had a job that was not what I wanted to be doing at all, but it paid my bills and let me enjoy my weekends enough that I could drag myself back there every Monday. And I was living in an unhealthy body that didn't make me look or feel how I wanted. But I didn't have any health issues yet and felt reasonably confident when I put on the right outfit. There was discomfort in every area of my life, just not enough for me to actually make drastic changes. Then there was this one day, I was getting ready for work, figuring out what to wear from the pile of clothes I had next to me that just weren't looking right that day. And I was looking at myself and it was almost like I saw myself age in front of the mirror. Like I was watching my life pass me by and how I would look and what my life would be like in 10, 20, 30 years from then. And I just remember thinking, is this it? Is this really what my life's going to be? I didn't like the path I was looking at for myself. I realized I couldn't spend another year living a life that felt small and constrained anymore, and that was my I'm done moment. Within weeks, I'd sold my house, moved to another country, started taking my health seriously, and separated from that relationship. And trust me, back then, I was the most safe, risk-free, never doing anything crazy kind of person you could ever imagine, and I genuinely mean that. But that was the power of truly reaching my breaking point, my mind reaching the point where enough was enough. It was completely terrifying and exciting all at the same time, but that shift didn't happen because I magically figured everything out. It happened because I was finally fed up enough to take that leap. And that's why I'm sharing this with you, because I felt the weight of good enough and know the freedom that comes from breaking free from it. Your I'm done moment could change literally everything, just like it did for me. Reaching this point can happen in two ways. One is naturally like it did for me back then the other is by mentally fabricating it and shifting yourself into that mindset yourself. I utilize this way constantly in my life and do the same for the women that I work with. You put yourself in the mindset where enough is enough and good enough isn't okay anymore. You find your I'm done moment rather than waiting for it to happen on its own. Write down everything in your life that you don't want anymore and be brutally honest. The mind that doubts and criticizes you constantly, the body that doesn't feel strong or healthy, the sluggish energy that holds you back, the dead-end relationships that don't nurture you. Reject it all. Stare them in the face and say, this isn't okay anymore. Form the mindset where you can create your I'm done moment right now. And that's all it takes to begin reprogramming your mind, redirecting your energy towards something, even if it's a small, uncertain step, will start to build momentum. This is why being stuck in slight discomfort is the real cage. It keeps you trapped and tolerating a life that's just good enough. The key is dissatisfaction. When you lean into that feeling, it becomes the spark that ignites you to truly shift. You don't need another plan, another goal, or another half-hearted attempt at change. What you need is to hit that point, the raw, unfiltered, I'm done moment. That's where huge change can happen. The life you want begins the moment you say, I'm done settling. And that's the first step towards sculpting the life you've always dreamed of. We really are capable of so much more than we realize. I honestly cannot stress that enough. But it often takes ridiculously extreme pressure to allow this strength and capability to come out. Until we reach that pivotal moment when our back is truly against the wall, when the stakes couldn't feel higher, we're just blind to our potential. It's as though we're carrying this untapped power, waiting for the right crisis to awaken it. A kind of morbid but interesting lens to think about this from is imagine being told that you only have 1 year to live, just another 365 days until it's over. But this isn't the case if you somehow come up with $1 million. What would you do? What lengths would you go to make this happen? The vast majority of us in our comfortable discomfort might initially think, that's impossible, there's no way I could do that. But in a life or death scenario, something shifts. That level of urgency forces you to think completely differently, to act completely differently, and to push past barriers that seemed literally impossible in the past. You'd call every contact you've ever made. You'd learn new skills overnight, and you'd find the most creative solutions to problems you never dared to face previously. That's the power of a rock bottom ultimatum. It's not just hypothetical though. Think about those stories of people performing superhuman acts under immense pressure. Parents lifting cars off their trapped children, stranded adventurers surviving impossible odds. These moments are powered by adrenaline and a singular focus. I have no other choice but to succeed. Now imagine if we could harness that same energy, that same sense of urgency without needing an actual emergency to provoke it. That's where the magic is, fabricating your own mental rock bottom to unlock the capability that already exists inside of you. When you're able to simulate this sense of urgency, everything becomes clearer. The excuses that once held you back lose their power. The fears of judgment or failure pale in comparison to the bigger fear of staying still for a second longer. You start to see solutions instead of things holding you back, and your energy shifts from wishful thinking to real action. The reality is we don't need a crisis to push us towards the life we want. We can decide right here and now to move forward as though our time is limited, as though we're on the brink of something huge, because we are. This mindset isn't about manufacturing stress. It's about tapping into the inner strength that already exists within you, waiting for its chance to come out. You are capable of so much more than you've allowed yourself to believe, but unlocking that potential requires stepping out of the safe comfort of good enough. It requires imagining what your life would be if you treated your dreams as urgent, non-negotiable priorities. It requires declaring, this is my time and I refuse to settle anymore. It's time to stop waiting for a crisis to force your hand. Create your own ultimatum. Simulate your breaking point. Fear has this sneaky way of planting itself into the foundation of our lives. It so often can be the thing that prevents us from finding our I'm done moment and reaching that breaking point. And it's not until we take a step back that we realize how much of our reality has been shaped by that fear. Fear acts as this psychological barrier keeping us still. The fear that quitting your job will leave you unemployed forever, even though your skills are valuable and opportunities are everywhere. The fear that leaving an unfulfilling relationship means you'll end up alone, ignoring the possibility of finding someone who truly values and uplifts you. The fear that cutting off a toxic friendship will leave you without a support system, despite the fact that healthier connections could be waiting for you. The fear that showing up as your authentic self will push people away, when in reality, it's the only way to attract genuine connection. These fears magnify the risks and downplay the rewards, locking you into this painful cycle of procrastination and stagnation. They keep you just comfortable enough to endure the discomfort, but not uncomfortable enough to demand change. It's a mental trick that keeps you attached to a life of good enough because the unknown seems too overwhelming to deal with. But what if you rewrote the narrative? What if quitting the job leads to finding work that's not only fulfilling, but aligned with your passions and values? What if leaving this relationship clears the path for someone who deeply values and uplifts you? What if ending this friendship creates space for connections that feel healthy and genuinely supportive? What if embracing your true self inspires others to love you for who you are, not who you're pretending to be? These are possibilities that could fuel your I'm done moment. And the only thing standing between you and these outcomes is your willingness to act in spite of fear. It's not about eliminating fear entirely. That's impossible. It's about learning to act anyway. When you stop allowing fear to define your decisions, you start dismantling those psychological barriers, preventing you from reaching your I'm done moment. And most importantly, you begin to shape a life that feels authentic, fulfilling, and deeply aligned. The life you want is on the other side of that fear, waiting for you to claim it. I'll see you on the next one. Love you.